is where you sell the most records anywhere. The whole music scene is moving from being a very kind of poppy kind of thing. The mainstream of the record buyers now are moving more and more out to away from the safe middle and moving out more towards the edge. If you look at
why is that?
Well, the biggest bands in the last couple of years in America have been Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Red Hot Chili Peppers. These are all bands, you know, if you look at it 5-8 years ago, it was Def Leppard, Bon Jovi, you know, Rat, Motley Crue, so on. So you got a very different thing, and I think that now, in a way that maybe the Reagan-Bush years are kind of over, the kind of right-wing 12 years of republicanism and so on is drawing to an end. I think people increasingly, I think, are getting tired of most of these bands, the Bon Jovis and so on. I mean, I don't have anything personally against it, but they, I think, were all very much using a kind of a make-believe thing. The theme and the lyrics and the whole thing was kind of escapism and make-believe and so on. And now with Metallica and like Pearl Jam and so on, it's much more reality-based.
I guess you're pretty good off. I mean, you're not starving or suffering in any way. Can you really relate to unemployed fans, for instance? Or?
Oh yeah, I can totally relate to what these people, I mean, that's not necessarily 100% true, but you gotta understand that I've lived through all that. I spent many years not having any money, going and eating, you know, one meal a day, at, you know, having a salad at Burger King or something like that. Just, I mean, we spent years of less than what you get because Sweden has very good social security, so does Denmark. I mean, in America, there's really nothing. And we had 2 or 3 years when Metallica was starting where we had zilch, noll, and intet. And so it's like, we can relate to that. That's not something that you forget just when you get a lot of money.
I think fans, people that really like Metallica, they're not afraid to come up and talk to us when they see us. You know, they're not. You know, they might really look up to us as musicians and as a band and that kind of thing, but they don't. They're not scared to talk to us. They see that we are just people, the same as them, and we don't try to play ourselves off as something like some god or something like that. You know, we're just regular guys, and that's all. We've never tried to be anything different than that, and that's probably why. I think people are very smart, and the general public is smarter than a lot of people think they are, and they can see through a band when a band doesn't really mean what they're doing.
We don't sit purposely and say, let's do this for the fans or let's do that for the fans, but you know that there are little things that you can do that would make a difference, and that there's things that also, where you say more, we do this for us, for ourselves, it makes it different for ourselves, and then the fans benefit from it. You know what I mean? I think it's a little contrived to sit and sort of make everything out, you know, the fans this, the fans that, because then you just sound like everybody else that sits up there and goes, oh, give the people what they want, and all that kind of crap, which is a lot of times just bullshit. But there's a lot of things that we do that I think we can relate to, and things that we do for ourselves that the fans benefit from and that make it special from the fans. We have a very strong desire always to do things very different than most other metal bands. We do that for ourselves because we want it to be different. But then the fans benefit from it because it's different than what all the other metal bands are. It's kind of like a 1-2 step. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Sure.
I think we still do like each other, we really do. I mean, we get in little fights and little things, you know, but it's always, all of us have a lot of respect for each other. And we know that it's an all-for-one situation, you know. You have to, if everybody has to work for the same thing, you know, that each guy knows that the other guy has to do his job in order for him to do well, you know, for himself to do well. So we rely on each other a lot. And I don't know, over the years, you know, we've learned to give each other space where we really need to, because that's a big part of it, is having patience. Having patience with each other and learning to, you know, you gotta like the person for who they are, man. You know, you might not agree with everything he says all the time. You might not like some of his friends. You might not like, you know, things that he says sometimes or some of his views. but you still have to love him for what he is, you know. And we've just, I mean, we've grown up enough to learn that, to do that in order to keep our band tight. You know, I think that you don't really hear about too many troubles with Metallica or any kind of like stupidity, you know, in the way of, you know, getting in trouble with the police or any kind of stupid things like that.
You can be a band that gets in a newspaper every time something bad happens. The point is that, so what? What does it do? It doesn't, the kind of people that will read that an Axl Rose did this today in Expressen or one of these newspapers, they're not the general record buying audience for this kind of band anyway. Do you know what I mean? Somebody might, somebody somewhere might know more about Axl Rose than they do about Lars Ulrich, but they're not the kind of people that will go out and buy records. They'll just know, oh, Axl Rose, because I read about him in the newspaper. He's, you know, rock and roll bad boy. Wow. But they're not the kind of people that go out and buy these kind of records. Do you know what I mean? I mean, we've sold twice as many records as Guns N' Roses in America in the last year, but they still get more attention in the daily newspapers because, you know, that's their thing. But it doesn't really matter because the target audience is not the people that read the newspapers. It's the rock audience, and that's where our forte is. You know what I mean? I have this theory about when you've been on the road for 2 years. I mean, everybody knows all the stories about when a tour ends, how that really screws your head up. But I have this theory that I'm going to try, which is that after the tour is over and there's no more playing and so on, then instead of just going home the next day and waking up in your house and going, I'm home, now what, you know, then I'm going to keep traveling for another month or two and kind of wind it down. So I'm still traveling, but I'm not playing and living on a schedule and so on and so on. And then when I've dealt with that for a little while, then I'm going to go home and kind of walk into my house. Because I have a house in San Francisco, and all the other 3 guys in the band, they go home to their houses all the time and breaks. I don't like to do that. I like to stay in tour mode. So I haven't actually been to my house for about 2 years. I'm kind of like scared. So I'm going to go home, I'm going to stay on the road for a little while and then wind down and then go home and open the door. I'm home.
And then crack down.
Yeah, then break down, yeah.